Welcome back to Prove It To Me. I'm your host, Dr. Matt Law. If you can't tell, we're going a little bit more casual today. Usually, we start this show with a serious look at occupational health, safety metrics, or industrial hygiene. But today we are taking a detour. Why? Because I need a break. We just spent 2 weeks talking about psychosocial risk factors and standardized metrics. And frankly, my brain is fried. I need something lighter. I need something stupider. And the universe provided. I was scrolling Facebook, which is mistake number one, and I saw a headline from NBC4 in Columbus, Ohio. And I swear to you, I thought it was The Onion. The headline reads, Ohioans have 1.13% chance of being abducted by aliens, study finds. Now, let's pause. 1.13%. That doesn't sound like a lot, right? Oh, it's only 1%. But let's do the math. The population of Ohio is roughly 11.8 million people. 1.13% of 11.8 million people is 133,340. According to this study, there are 133,000 people in Ohio who are going to be beamed up by a flying saucer. That is the entire population of Dayton, Ohio. Gone. Vanished. Probed. If this statistic were true, alien abduction would be the third leading cause of death in the state, right behind heart disease and cancer. So, naturally, I had to find the source. Who conducted this study? MIT? The Pentagon? NASA? No. The study was conducted by Canada Sports Betting. Yes, a gambling website. A website where you can bet on whether the Toronto Maple Leafs will choke in the playoffs. Spoiler, the likelihood is high. They released a report titled Alien Abduction Odds Index 2026. And folks, before we even look at the data, we need to talk about the interpretation, because this report is a masterclass in how to misuse the English language to scare people. Let's look at how they built their risk model. They used 3 factors to determine if you are going to get snatched. Number 1, UFO activity, sightings. Number 2, human vulnerability. We'll get to that. And number 3, curiosity, Google search trends. Let's stop on that third one, curiosity. They measured how often people in a state Google terms like UFO, aliens, or abduction, and they treated that as a risk factor. Think about the logic here. They are implying that if you Google aliens, the aliens know. It's the Beetlejuice theory of risk management. If you say their name 3 times, they appear. If I Google how to bake a souffle, does that increase the likelihood that I will be abducted by a bakery? No. It just means I'm hungry. But in this report, interest is conflated with risk. And then there is human vulnerability. Surely this means living in a rural area or having a certain blood type? No. The methodology says human vulnerability is represented using a sleep disruption proxy. They are tracking insomnia. If you are awake at 3 a.m., this model says you are vulnerable. Now, as a safety professional, I can see the logic. Sort of. If you are awake at 3 a.m., you are more likely to see weird lights in the sky because you are looking out the window. But being awake doesn't make the aliens want you more, unless aliens are just really attracted to people with dark circles under their eyes. This brings me to the most important part of today's episode, and this is where I'm going to put my safety nerd hat back on for a few minutes. We need to talk about the difference between probability and likelihood. In common language, we use these words interchangeably. What's the probability of rain? What's the likelihood of rain? It means the same thing to most people. But in risk assessment and in real science, these words mean very different things. Probability is mathematical. It is a ratio. It is the number of times an event occurs divided by the number of opportunities for it to occur. If I flip a coin, the probability of heads is 0.5. It is exact. It is derived from data. Likelihood is qualitative. It is an estimate. It is a feeling. It is a prediction based on incomplete data. When we do a job hazard analysis and we say the risk of a slip and fall is high likelihood, we aren't saying there is a 67.4% chance. We are saying the floor is wet, so it's probably gonna happen. The problem with this alien report, and the problem with so many bad safety reports, is that they take likelihood, a guess, and dress it up as probability, math. They took a likelihood score based on Google searches and insomnia, and they converted it into a percentage, 1.13%. When you put a decimal point on a number, you are claiming precision. You are telling the public, we have calculated this. But they didn't calculate it, they guessed it. Imagine if I told my CEO, based on the fact that our employees are Googling forklifts, I have calculated a 1.13% probability that the warehouse will explode tomorrow. I would be fired, and rightfully so. But when a gambling site does it, it gets on NBC News. Okay, rant over. Let's look at the data deep dive because, thanks to the report, I have the actual spreadsheet, and the numbers are even funnier than the headline. Let's start with Ohio. The headline said Ohio was a hotspot, but in the actual data, Ohio is ranked 21st, solidly in the middle of the pack. And let's look at the actual probability. The headline said 1.13%. That's 130,000 people. But column M in the spreadsheet tracks abductions from 2019. Do you know how many people in Ohio have reported an abduction since 2019? 56. 56 people out of 11.8 million. Let's do the math. 56 divided by 11.8 million is 0.00047%. The headline overstated the risk by a factor of 2,400. This isn't a margin of error. This is statistical malpractice. Now, for my fellow mountaineers out there, let's look at West Virginia. West Virginia is ranked 12th on the list. High risk. Why? Well, look at their human vulnerability norm score. It's 85.59. That's incredibly high. That means West Virginia has some of the worst sleep deprivation in the country. So, the model sees that everyone in West Virginia is awake, and it assumes, well, they must be getting probed. No! Maybe they're just tired. Maybe they're working the night shift. This is a classic case of correlation does not equal causation. Just because you are awake doesn't mean you are getting abducted. And for my Canadian listeners, I have good news and bad news. The bad news is for British Columbia. You are rank number 1. The model says you are the most likely to be taken. Why? Because you have a lot of sightings. But again, BC has a lot of mountains, a lot of dark skies, and, let's be honest, a lot of recreational substances that might make people see things in the sky. The good news? If you want to be safe, move to Prince Edward Island. PEI is ranked 10th. Wait, that's the bottom of the list for Canada. They have almost zero reported abductions. Why? Maybe the aliens are lactose intolerant and they're afraid of the cows. Or maybe nothing happens in PEI, not even alien invasions. So, what is the takeaway here? Why am I wasting 15 minutes of your life reading a CSV file from a gambling site? Because it is a perfect lesson in data literacy. We live in a world where headlines are generated by algorithms. 1.13% chance is a clickbait headline. As safety professionals, we see this all the time. We see risk assessments that use made up numbers. Likelihood is a 4, severity is a 3. Therefore, the risk is 12. What does 12 mean? Nothing. It's just a vibes based score dressed up in a safety vest. So, the next time you see a scary statistic, whether it's about CIF precursors, cancer rates, or alien abductions, ask yourself number one, who paid for the study? In this case, a bookie. Number two, is it probability, math, or is it likelihood, guessing? Number three, what is the denominator? Are they dividing by the whole population? And if the math says that the population of Dayton has vanished, maybe, just maybe, check the spreadsheet before you call the men in black. That's it for this special report. I am going to go back to my boring life of not being abducted. If you are one of the 56 people in Ohio who actually reported an abduction, please email me at contact@proveitpod.com. I have so many questions. Mostly, do they have good coffee on the mothership? And did you lose any sleep over it? Until next time, I'm Dr. Matt Law, recommending that you keep your feet on the ground, keep looking up, but maybe don't bet the house on it. Prove It To Me is produced by me, Matt Law. Original music by Wes London. You can find this podcast on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Like what you've heard so far? Please like, subscribe, and follow wherever you get your podcasts, and leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Got questions about what we talked about or research that you want to share? Send an email to contact@proveitpod.com. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the host and its guests and do not necessarily represent the official position, opinion, or strategies of their employers or companies. Examples of research and data analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based on very limited, often single use case, and sometimes dated information. Assumptions made within this discussion about research and data analyses are not necessarily representative of the position of the host, the guests, or their employers or companies. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast. The presentation of the content by the guests does not necessarily constitute an active endorsement of the content by the host.